Hello, welcome to this week's edition of MMA News. At present, we are in kind of a lull when it comes to the major promotions. Last weekend we had Tati Palace Fights 14 Validation, and this next weekend we're having tomorrow there's a few different fights going on, but not not a major promotion. So, just get right into it. Last Saturday was Tachi Palace Fights 14 Validation, in which you saw the featherweight champ Georgi Karahanyan, was a UFC slash Bellator veteran. He made his first defense as the featherweight champion. Ian Loveland also made his first defense as the bantamweight champion. This is somewhat significant in this promotion because it's the first time. It's only the third and fourth times respectively that a fighter's actually defended his title, and just the first time overall that the title's been defended in their two respective weight classes. But besides that, the most major event I could think of that happened on that fight card was the horrible ref. He was making the worst calls ever, letting fighters take too much of a beating, letting guys get submitted for a long time before actually calling it. And then there were times when he was calling submissions too early. He was just making the worst calls ever. Which brings to the point that they should probably come up with a better system of, legitimizing their refs, keeping them sanctioned or something like that. Like, if a fight like that happens, that ref should not be allowed in the cage again. He should not have been in there. He was making the worst calls ever. But obviously it's not up to me. It's up to the California State Athletic Commission. And the athletic commissions sometimes have a tendency to make calls that do not make sense. But anyways, that's what's done is done. So so that was there was a K1 fight, but I did not see it. Just because of the fact that as it turns out, Spike failed to mention the fact that they were charging $10 for the online viewing, so I just did not see it. I understand that Seth Petrozelli won his fight, so in his K1 return, so he's gonna be fighting in, I believe, the final 16. But anyways, okay, so the upcoming fights this weekend in the UK, we have the British Association of Mixed Martial Arts putting on their 10th fight card. And the major players are, you have Rob Sinclair, who's kind of a local British fighter, versus Andre Winner, who we know from the US versus UK Ultimate Fighter card. There's also the event where they're having two fighters fight for the British Middleweight Championship. Now, personally, I don't know why you would make a country's middleweight championship. Why you would have two championships in the same weight class? To me, it's just, I really don't know how to describe it. It just, to me, does not make sense. It kind of reminds me of how Strikeforce in its early development had a United States Lightweight Championship and the United States Middleweight Championship. Eventually the Middleweight Championship was just folded out. That guy, he did very little fighting afterwards, and Josh Thompson was the U.S. Lightweight Champion, and that pretty much got folded, kind of unified with his Strike Force Lightweight Championship, which is now owned by Gilbert Melendez, and he's been holding on for quite a while. So, but yeah, so that's going on. A bunch of other fighters who I do not know are fighting. That, just because of the fact that I do not know. The middleweight, fight is Jack Marshman versus Andre Punshan. Yeah, but anyways, you got some other fights going on. Not really anybody notable. They're all local British fighters, except for this one middleweight fight on the other card where Denniston Sutherland is going against Leroy Barnes. Denniston Sutherland is Jamaican. So, that's the only major thing I can really think of. The other thing that's going on this weekend is a fight between, in the, KSW promotion in Poland. And of note, I should probably, mention the fact that, the overseas development in the non-traditional places where you think of MMA has been growing a bit recently. You've got the Super Fight League in Asia, in India specifically. You got ONE FC in Southeast Asia. You've got a few different championships in the Oceania area. Excuse me. Not much in terms of South American promotions. But there's a lot of American promotions up there. There's like a few South African promotions. There's actually one or two promotions in the Middle East. You've got, and then of course you got a whole bunch of European promotions, including British promotions. There's the overseas, the non-American market is growing. The American market in and of itself is also growing. As we know, the Japanese market's kind of full of more minor promotions ever since Dream fell, so. Oh yeah, of note is the fact that they mentioned, that in 2013 there's going to be planned about 5 fight cards in Japan. Similar to the UFC on FX fight cards, but anyways, we'll see how that happens. So anyways, KSW 20, Fighting Sympathy is it is going to have the main event's gonna be the light heavyweight championship between Jan Blachowicz and Houston Alexander. Blachowicz is the defending light heavyweight champion. Houston Alexander, as you know, in the UFC for a while, and then he got cut after his fight with Kimbo Slice because he pulled a Caleb Starnes and started running around the ring, and Kimbo actually went in and actually started fighting. He was actually pretty impressive. It was not the slugfest that anyone expected it to be. Anyways, Alexander, since leaving the UFC, has fought a total of 8 times since he was released in 2009. And he hasn't really gained any he hasn't really done anything of significance. Really, has an average record. Since leaving the UFC, he's 4-3 and 4-3 with 1 no contest. So that's just how that went. So anyways, yeah, he's fighting for the he's fighting for the light heavyweight championship. This may or may not put him back on the radar. We'll see how it happens. Then, of course, in heavyweight, you have the man who's kind of maybe become a freak show, depending on how I look at. It's Mariusz Pudzianowski, who's fighting as a heavyweight versus Christos Piliafas. Puds, as he's just become known, is the former strongman. He was, I believe, a 5-time winner. Is the world strongman. 5-time winner. So, and he did various other competitions. He's a big bulk of a man. But anyways, he transitioned to mixed martial arts. And he's going to be going against Christos Piliafas from Greece. Now, he's kind of had kind of an interesting record. He is 4-2 right now in his short 3-year career. He started out with KSW. Most of his fights are in KSW. He's only had one promotion fight outside of KSW. He's he had 2 wins, and then the notable fighters, he lost to Tim Sylvia, who it was a freak show. It was a freak show, a Musin God of War. So it was in Massachusetts, but yeah, they just went out there. It was a freak show. You got tall, super heavyweight Tim Sylvia fighting Poots, who's this big hulk of a man, and eventually Sylvia got a submission via punches. He punched him into submission. Then Poots bounced back in his freak show-like manner, fought Butterbean, and beat Butterbean, beating him into submission, and that had like a whole different embarrassing scenario, because you had the singer who was like trying to sing the national anthem, and he was just like, it did not sound like the national anthem. It was just one of those funny situations. They fought James Thompson twice. The first time was a submission via arm triangle. The second time was a no contest. It was originally a win, but due to a judging error. And then he, in typical freak show fashion, fought against Bob Sapp and beat Bob Sapp, because Bob Sapp is pretty weak nowadays. So he's fighting this next guy, so we will see how that happens. Then the third card known as the Road FC 9 Beatdown fight card is taking place in Korea. Notables, they have a light heavyweight tournament, and then you have Melvin Mann who going against Kim Jae-young, and Mina Waman going against Yuk Sin-jo. So that's basically it for this weekend. We don't have anything going on. After this next week, we're finally going to have the lull end, and the UFC is going to come back. We're going to see UFC 152. So that's about it, and I'll see you next week.